Hello and welcome to PHP Alive and Kicking, brought to you by PHP Architect and our partners at PHP Displace. More about them later. This is a podcast that explores the latest developments in PHP and what it's like to earn a living in PHP today. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Page. I'm a developer at PHP Architect, and my co-host is a long-time contributor to our magazine and now team member, Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, so today's episode is pre-recorded, but if you're watching this, please do pop over to Discord. We have a lot of people hanging around in there all the time. If you've got any questions, great conversations. You'll bump into core developers of PHP and package maintainers, release managers. They're all in there. And there's some really interesting conversations all week long. If you're listening to the audio, you can hop over to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@PHPArch. And you can see the video version of this if you want to look at our faces, but I understand if you don't want to. We do produce a monthly magazine all about PHP and surrounding technology. And for our lovely listeners, we do have a discount. So if you head over to the PHP Architect website, you'll be able to get a discount. Is that our one?
No, but we're going to use that one.
We're using this one today. Okay. Apparently, we got podcast -3, and you'll get. I don't know what this discount actually gives you.
It is £3 off every edition of the magazine for as long as you're using that to code for. So £1.99 a month.
Oh, okay. Right. There you go. There you have it. Okay. We also have a conference that's completely thrown me. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So PHP Tech 26 tickets are on sale now. It would be great to see people over there. And we, at the time of recording, have just announced that there will be another conference running alongside PHP Tech next year, or whenever this one goes out. It'll be in 26, and that is JS Tech. So we're going to have a track that is dedicated, or possibly two, we're not sure yet, of talks dedicated purely to JavaScript. So we're welcoming in JS developers with open arms.
We are. And Mike, we also have something else that you are not aware of as well. There is a 10% off your tech ticket if you use the address phpa.me/PHP podcast-tech-discount.
I didn't know about that. I do apologise if you can hear my dog. I think someone's just come to my front door. But we'll push on. She'll be quiet in a minute. Okay, yeah, no, I didn't know about that discount off of the tickets, but that's great. Next thing, we have a swag store. So head over to store.phparch.com and you can check out what merchandise we have there: t-shirts, hats, mugs, all sorts. There's all sorts of things there. Okay, so that is all the things we need to announce. So without further ado, Chris, can you introduce today's guest?
I can. So we have with us today Oliver Davies. He is a PHP developer, core contributor to Drupal. He has live streamed, has his own podcast, writes articles. He does nearly as much not much content as I do. So welcome. Hey, how you doing?
Hey guys. Yeah,
hello.
I don't think I'm quite up to the amount of content you do, Chris, yet, but I don't know. Given time, maybe
you're getting there.
Catching you up, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, you're posting pretty regularly, short sort of thoughts and ideas on your blog. I mean, pretty much daily, which is that's cool. People can pick up a lot of things just from even a 2 or 3 sentence post.
Good. Yeah, I've slowed down a bit recently just to give myself a little bit of leeway to look at some other things. But yeah, I do like writing and putting some ideas out there. Not just PHP, but talk a lot about Git and DevOps and other sorts of related things as well. Drupal, yeah, whatever sort of takes my fancy for that day, really. But yeah, I might start those again soon, or just start trying to keep blogging fairly regularly. But yeah, just been taking a bit of time just to give myself a little bit more space to look at some other stuff, or just
Yeah.
life, I guess.
It's almost like developers are allowed to have a life outside of code.
Oh yeah, I've had this recently. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I discovered this when I came to PHP Architect. You can actually do things other than write code, and it's fun.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's good skills, but writing, speaking, it's very complementary to just writing code. But if I can write something and it triggers something for somebody else, or somebody else learns something, then yeah. Someone made a comment about doing git log minus one line or something, which I just assumed everybody knew, and they're like, "Oh, that's great! I can use that for this." So yeah, you never know what's going to be useful for people and what's going to click with people.
Right, now I'm going to have to ask you, what does git log minus one line do?
Displays the git log, but just displays the first line of each commit, so the subject line. So yeah, when the rules are like you're supposed to put 52 characters, I think is the guideline for the first line of the commit, because that was the email subject when they used to use mailing lists and things. But yeah, it just shows you the subject line and not the whole rest of the body. So
nice.
I think it was that, or it was something else. It was some git switch that I'd used, that I'd mentioned, and so I'm like, yeah, that's great. So
right,
yeah, it doesn't need to be a big sort of giant post. Just something little will maybe click to the right person.
I'm going to have to try that later now.
Yeah, for example. So many little things like that I do. This is what I love. Sort of pair programming and open source, because then you just watch it all streaming. Because then it's like, you just watch little things and go, I didn't know you could do that. And it's just I'll put that in my little notes file or something, and I'll find use for that. It's so many little things like that.
So with the customer I've started working with at Architect, they have a habit that I've never really seen used before, which is rebasing PRs off master rather than merging master back into it to resolve conflicts. I'd never used that before. And it makes a big difference to how you handle it. And it was such a simple change that most of the time now I don't get merge conflicts at all, because I'll just rebase before I push.
Yeah, that's one of those. That's because they holy wars, but one of those sorts of things that pull merge versus rebase. Yeah, it's always which one should I do, and yeah, it obviously depends on the project and the code base. But yeah, I'm usually a rebase person. I'd rather keep the histories that are clean. I'd rather have merge commits everywhere personally. And yeah, fast forward merges.
So I kind of prefer the other way of lots of merges that has been built up over time, because yes, you keep a nice clean history that says this was first and then this was second, but you lose the conflict, if you like, in the middle of how different branches got put together. It's interesting. There's
no one true way. Is that it really depends on the code base and the project, and of course, if you're in a team or in an open source thing, you should try and fit in with what the sort of standard is. But because for your own project on your own, do whatever you want. Do what works for you.
I mean, if it's my own projects, it's usually just commit everything in one go. And
use Git is a good start. Right? Lots of people still don't, or use some sort of version control. So yeah, that's a good start.
I was thinking about using SVM for one the other day, just because I could.
Jiu-Jitsu is the other one now, right? JJ, that seems to be the new sort of thing. I'm not looked into it too much, but that seems to be getting some traction, some popularity with people.
So we've actually managed to go completely off track within the first 9 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Our first question is always, how did you get into PHP? But apparently our first question has been about Git today. So
yeah, it's joy podcasting, right? You've got from these little tangents.
So
how did I get into PHP? Yeah, so I think it was about around 2007. I think I was working in IT, doing some desktop support, and I was working more on the hardware side, I guess, as well, going around fixing PCs, fixing laptops and things. I was doing Taekwondo back then, um, and was asked to build, a website for the club that I was training at, or one of the clubs I was training at. Had some exposure to web stuff from previous jobs, like orders were coming through the website, and so it was sort of aware, but hadn't really written any code at that point. But yeah, that seems like something interesting that I'd like to look at. So yeah, they were like, "Oh, you know about computers and IT stuff. Can you build us a website, a little small website, just to put the class times and things on it, and some news pages?" Yeah, so I did, and it started off as a static HTML thing, and that was fine when it was a couple of pages about page, classes page. It was fairly static. But then I was looking for like trying to do things like news pages, so competition results and grading results and things. So I was starting to want something a bit more dynamic, and that's why I sort of started looking at things like PHP and other stuff to try and plug a database into this thing, so I can save the news articles in the database rather than having to make all these pages by hand. So yeah, this is all done sort of in the evenings around my day job, and yeah, found sort of PHP, and then started looking at particular frameworks and things, and sort of all went from there really. And that was about 2008, and yeah, that's been sort of my main sort of focus. Also the Git stuff and all the other stuff is sort of branched off. The PHP is the main thing. But yeah, funnily, that's my son is doing Taekwondo now, training him in, and he's building the website for them now. So we've sort of gone full circle a little bit, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's why I got into it.
I mean, I guess it's useful to have a father and son that both know how to code. It gives you the opportunity to go, we could do it this way.
Yeah, like we could like you guys were saying earlier on about code review. Like we could do pull requests and code review each other's stuff.
Yeah,
That'd be cool. Yeah, and that's what we go for. Yeah. Yeah.
So I absolutely love code review in that it gives other people the opportunity to completely rip my code apart and go, hey, here's 55 different ways of doing the same thing. And it makes for great reading when you're going through when you know that the person has the best interests at heart. You can get some really harsh comments, like that's complete rubbish, do this instead. And you know that the intent is for better code, and you learn a hell of a lot through it. And I also like it the other way, where I get to help somebody else see what is happening with their code and how they can improve it. And I've often said it in talks that the day I think I know everything about code is probably the day I stop being a developer. And
yeah, it's like I said this when I've done like bootcamp mentoring and talks and things. Like there's always something new to learn, and I think it's one of the best and worst things, because like for me, I'm always learning something sort of new, or learning like picking up maybe like a new language to solve that I can use to solve a problem, or things like frameworks are always evolving. You see all these new features being added, or new frameworks coming out of that stuff. So yeah, it's always, if you want, always something new to learn and pick up, and yeah, it takes the time to do it if you want.
Yeah, and it's prioritizing that and making that part of your flow. I mean, we were talking just before we started recording about the fact that you use a day a week for research and development and personal development things. And I think that's a brilliant approach. And I have worked with companies where that's been possible before, to dedicate 20% of your time to just, I want to learn something new. And being able to do that, and being able to have the knowledge that you're doing that with the full support of the team around you, makes for a brilliant experience.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, there's just so many new things. And I remember when I was agency side working on client projects, we'd always be like, decoupled Drupals, like API first, sort of headless thing was really popular, or still is. But I remember when that sort of became really popular, because then we were going to clients going, hey, we could build it like this. But if people haven't had the time to really learn that stuff beforehand, then you want to give people that time to sharpen that axe, or learn those tools before you start trying to sort of sell it. I guess ideally,
Mm.
because then people know what they're talking about. So yeah, give them that time to learn the things. But yeah, if you've got the want or the desire to keep learning, give people the space to do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in amongst that, you've mentioned Drupal a few times. Now, one of the things that often gets said in conferences is Drupal, Drupal, about 20
Mhm.
different ways of pronouncing the same word. What is the official way of pronouncing this?
I've always said Drupal, like as in like with the U, and I've heard Drupal a lot. But yeah, and there's a forum post somewhere with I assume it's I don't know whether it was real or a parody or something, but somebody was posting says our website is built using the Drew space Paul framework, as in like the names Paul. I have to find a link to that somewhere. But yeah, I've always said Drupal. But that didn't technically is it's based on there's a story around like how the name came out, and it's all based on translations for the word drop, and then the wrong domain got bought and things. So there's a story to it. So maybe if you speak that language, then maybe it's different. But yeah, I think it's all Drupal. I've always said it with the software thing rather than the Drupal. But I guess
I heard somebody call it Drupal.
yeah, Drupal maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Drupal, but yeah, I suppose as long as I know what they're talking about, it's fine.
Yeah, if we all know that we're talking about that framework that does stuff,
Yeah. We get it with like I guess Laravel as well as the other one, right? The Lara, no one's ever showed a friends that one. Taylor's has a different name to everybody else, but I don't know.
Yeah, Laravel is one I heard for that.
Yeah, depends, I guess, doesn't it? But yeah,
there's only one
guide on the front page.
Yeah, there's only one framework I've never heard use a different way of pronouncing it other than just accents, and that's Cake PHP.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure we could figure some if we thought about it, if we tried.
I'm now going to spend the rest of the day trying to find one. Yeah.
Oh dear. Don't give him ideas. He's got other stuff to do.
Sorry, Mike. I mean, I just get distracted easily by weird ideas.
We know.
That's how this podcast was born, wasn't it?
Not quite. No, because I think it was I approached you. It was sort of I came up with the idea to start with. Yeah, the idea for me was someone had just recommended to me to start doing some videos to try and start working towards being able to speak at conferences, which is like one of the biggest fears that I have. And working architects, John and Eric do encourage the team to talk and get themselves out there, trying to sort of raise the profile of ourselves as developers and of the company. It's quite surprising how many people in our neck of the woods, sort of in Europe, don't know about PHP Architect. I've been to conferences and talked to people, and the majority of people have no idea we even exist, which I found quite strange and interesting, because it was one of the first things I found when I got into PHP was the PHP Architect magazine. So yeah, the idea was half born about selfishly trying to get myself out there, my profile out there, and be able to feel a bit more comfortable about going up on stage. I will say now, it's not making me feel any more comfortable about getting up on stage and talking, but we'll find out, because I think there's a possibility I might be talking at Tech next year.
Based on internal Slack messages, I think it's more than a possibility.
Shush, it's not public yet. It might be by the time this recording goes out. But then the other half of the idea for this podcast came from when I went to PHP UK this year, so 25, and they had a panel at the end of the day, and the first question was how do we bring in new developers into PHP, and when before they actually answered that question, the host of the panel asked anyone over the age of, I think he said either 30 or 35, to put their hands up that are full-time professional developers, and I kid you not, pretty much everyone in the room put their hands up. And then he asked anyone under 30, and there was a handful. And you look around, you think that's quite scary for the future of PHP. When you look at the main people, the demographic of the main people within the language at the moment, there aren't any new. There's not many new, not just new, young developers coming out of university or college to come into PHP, but anyone just drifting over to and finding PHP. And this is where this sort of then Niels from Packages then said one of the his sort of take on how to attract more people to the language is to stop using negative language in our posts, our videos, and or the titles at least, because he sees so often PHP isn't dead. I built this in PHP, and people that have got that bad taste in the mouth from the history of PHP, who might have tried it years and years ago, won't read PHP isn't dead. I built this in PHP. They will read PHP is dead, and then move on to the next video. They won't even bother clicking on the video. So, and quite interestingly, recently I've seen a lot of posts on, and maybe it's because it's 30 years of PHP this year, but a lot of posts on LinkedIn of PHP's dead, learn this, PHP's dead, the one where they've got the years, every year someone said to them, PHP's dead, learn this different language. And they say, well, at the end of it all, I stayed with PHP and it's still going strong. But the problem is you're seeing the first words in that image, because you can't see the whole of their comment saying, I didn't bother learning the other languages, I stuck with PHP. And because all you can see is the image in one line, and the image, the first lines is PHP is dead. And that's where people move on. So my idea of the podcast, one was to get me public speaking, and two was to try and raise a bit more of awareness and be more positive language. We're all PHP. We all love PHP, and we're all positive about PHP. But sometimes the choice of words doesn't help us. So. Yeah,
I think it's interesting stuff. It's obviously good to see people like Luna Maduro doing a lot of content around PHP and others as well. And you've got but he's talked a lot about, and I see him give talks like this was PHP a few years ago, and this is the PHP now, like with a lot of the new features and things in it. So yeah, as a language, it's great to see the language evolve and continue to evolve. But yeah, I do wonder about that, because I was looking at, when I've been involved with boot camps and things, like it's mostly JavaScript, because they want to teach you something in 16 weeks, and it sort of covers everything. One I helped out with was doing like React front end and PHP back end or something, or Drupal based APIs on the back end. So that was good. I thought you got exposure to more than one language, but then some of them are just JavaScript everything. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, how do we? I'm sure there are younger developers coming in. You said if people over 35 were sort of the main people in that room. I'm sure there are young developers coming in, but are they typically going for maybe JavaScript, or you also, I think, see a lot about Go and Rust and Zig and a lot of these other sort of newer things. But PHP is still there. It's still the vast majority of the web, and there's still frameworks. Symfony, Laravel, like Drupal is continuously evolving. So yeah, it's not. It is almost mean at this point about PHP being dead. It's not just us. I see other streamers sort of trying it. Doing stuff. I've seen like Primeagen doing some Laravel stuff really recently, and Tej. So yeah, people are still using it, but getting us out of what's been interesting for me as well is not just going. Obviously, I go to PHP conferences and meetups and things, but going to I say tech agnostic ones. Probably a couple of years ago, I was at Nordev, which is the Norfolk Developer Conference. So it's they're talking about all these different languages. So it's great to be able to sort of write PHP flag a little bit there, and yeah, as a unified diff, which is a local meetup, again, it's a tech agnostic one in Cardiff. And yeah, it's great to be able to sort of show to people PHP, and there's always one or two people like, oh, I used PHP when I was starting to learn, so like I did, and maybe moved on to something else. But
Mm.
yeah, it's still there. And yeah, the language is also going to continue to evolve. But yeah, if we can sort of make sure we're framing ourselves in the right way, then also that's going to help, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think one of the things that we've seen recently is people like Povlas and a few other of the bigger streamers starting to talk about how can we help to change what's coming into the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we start to reframe the bottom of the rung, as it were, to help people into PHP as an option? Because what is starting to become apparent is junior PHP roles are either non-existent, or those that aren't getting filled because people aren't there and wanting to work towards that.
And I think some of the other issues. So thinking for me, I it's not long ago I was trying to find my first role in PHP. A lot of the advertising for junior developers is just unrealistic. You look and you see the list of requirements, and you're thinking a junior dev would not have all that knowledge and skill. That you're looking at someone that's been doing it for between 3 to 5 plus years. You can't. How as employees trying to find junior developers, we need to be more realistic on what we're asking for. Because I still look on LinkedIn to see every now and then they pop up on my stream, and so I have a look, and that's not a junior role. That's almost a senior role.
Yeah.
So what? And I think the thing is, people are not thinking about what to put in these adverts. And I don't know who writes these, but I wish we could get the message out to people, because I remember listening to a podcast, and this is a few years back now, and I can't remember all the details, but there was an advert. This person on the podcast was saying they saw an advert for a role, and it asked for, I'm going to say 5 years. It probably might have been longer than that, but 5 years experience in a certain framework. I can't remember what the framework is, so don't quote me on it. But he then turned around and said, but he knew full well that framework hasn't been around for that long, because he was the one that wrote it.
It might be Phil Sturgeon and Pyro CMS.
Might well be.
I've heard of this story or a version of it where
it might be.
I applied for a job and got rejected for not having enough experience when they wrote the framework.
Yeah.
Yes, it might well be the same person, because the thing that just is a glaring alarm to me. It's like, what are these people doing? And so, if we want to attract people into PHP, we need to be helping these people that are hiring PHP developers.
Yeah.
Explain the benefits of hiring a junior developer for starters. Some people just want people with experience straight away, but they're calling them junior roles. No, that you're looking at someone in the mid area. If you want someone with at least some commercial experience, you're not looking at a junior dev anymore. But
it's interesting because I was doing 2008, 2007. I started to do the websites and started to build little ones for clients and things like the Taekwondo group, and I built one for the cat food, take out Cat 2, and maybe as an old website, and started doing a little bit of client work with a local sort of agency. So when I went into my first sort of junior role, which was 2010, like I already had a good bit of experience, even though I was a junior developer. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So yeah, there's a junior dev on my team now who's been with me a couple of years, and yeah, he's come off a boot camp, and it's mostly React, and he's doing more front end stuff. But you know, we expose him to some of the PHP stuff that we're doing as well. But yeah, it's not only not going to be, you're not going to know the whole thing or the full stack or every language or every framework, or you're going to give people this sort of time to continue to to learn and find those things. And I'm sure the junior devs out there. because we've got the whole AI conversation around when people vibe code, but I think that's a completely different thing. I still think there's definitely juniors coming through.
Mhm.
But yeah, how do we sort of encourage that? I think some of it is getting the right team and the right people around. Yeah, I'd have loved to have somebody to sort of show me how to do like automated testing and say, I'd sit down with me and give me a couple of days to sort of show me how that thing works. Whereas I had to go and learn a lot of this stuff for myself and through online things and videos and podcasts and courses and things. But yeah, if you can get into a good situation where you've got a good senior or a good other somebody else you can work with, and they'll sort of say code reviews is one thing, but
Mhm.
programming I'm really fond of, or just like show me how that thing works, and just try and be like sponge and trying to absorb as much knowledge as you can. So yeah, it's finding the role, but trying to find it in sort of the right sort of team, the right setup, I think.
And that's if you've seen the first episode of this podcast, you'll see that I kind of went the wrong way. Although I managed to find a role where it was just asking for 1 year's experience in PHP. I managed to be able to kind of blag that because I've been writing some PHP in the previous role where I was looking after an intranet for a school. But I wasn't doing that full time. I was actually like the drama technician, doing all the lights and sound, doing a little bit of networking on the side as well. But then I was building new features for this intranet, which by then I'd already got bitten by the bug, and I loved web development. So I was trying to move into that full time. Managed to find a job. There was 1 year experience, and then I applied and I got the job. But I was there for about just over 3 years before I was made redundant. But the difficulty was I was the only PHP developer in the company. The company dealt specialized in AR and VR content. So the other developers in the team were all C# developers. And used Unity to build the apps. I built the database to store the data, and then the admin panels for people to see what's going on with these apps that the other guys were building. Now, obviously, sometimes I could speak to one of them and go, right, this is a problem I'm trying to solve. I'm not sure how to do it. And they could go, well, in C# we kind of do it this way, which would quite often spark a sort of, actually, maybe I can do it this way in PHP. It's very similar. I mean, C# and PHP are extremely similar in the way that they work and their syntax, I think. So that helped, but I didn't have a PHP developer looking at my code. So my code worked. I just didn't know how good it was, how robust it was. And one of the things that then moving into PHP Architect has taught me a lot more, because I have those senior developers. Those developers have a lot more experience than I have. And now with like Chris on board as well, I've got someone that I can speak to in normal UK time, which is also helpful. And me and Chris have got quite a bit of a relationship. He probably gets sick and tired of having to look at my code, and I get sick and tired of him correcting me. But hey, I'm learning, and it's working. We're working off of each other, and that's quite nice. But so one of the other points you said there, and I think is something we do need to try and address as a community as well, is these boot camps. These boot camps, from what my understanding, I've not gone through a boot camp, so I can't say I've not been involved in any. But from what I see from an outsider, is these boot camps pick languages that they're pretty much guaranteed they can get their attendees a job in.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because our whole idea of a boot camp is you're going to get a job at the end of it. Yep. However, what I think the education area should be focusing on is more about how do you program rather than what language you use.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm studying a computer science degree through the Open University at the moment. And although I have had exposure to a number of different languages to try and hammer home different concepts within programming, the first year was no programming language at all. It was just understanding how loops work, how if statements work, and all the different permutations of that. And it's very much focused on writing what they refer to as pseudocode. And I'm sure we all use the same sort of thing. If you're sketching something out or just writing comments in the script. You're like, well, I got to do this, and this. And that was like the first year was all about that. I didn't learn anything to do with any of the languages. Learned more about how sort of computers work, how the internet works. But for coding, it was just like understanding that. If you understand that and have a good grasp on those sorts of fundamentals, you can write in any single language.
Absolutely.
I think what's interesting there, just to bring that back even further back, one of my kids, when they were a bit younger, were doing things like Scratch and building these little games and things. And
Exactly.
I know Code does a lot with it. But yeah, just like they don't know that they're learning variables or loops.
Yeah.
They're just going, do this thing this many times, and then they see the thing moving across the screen. But it's giving them that idea of like essentially programming fundamentals. There's, I can't think what the other one was. They did another one afterwards, and they were writing code. It was still quite JavaScript, but it was like, yeah, they're actually writing the dinosaur.move 3 or something. So I don't know if it was any
we had
particular
that
language. Yeah, but it's like because they'd done some stuff in Scratch before, they sort of knew what the idea was. And sometimes I'm writing some code, and like I say, we're building this Taekwondo website again now. And yeah, we sort of look at it, and I'm like, I remember sat there going, I was building a design system for somebody, and my son sat next to me, and I'm like, I can't get this thing to be blue or to something. I can't remember what it was. And he looks over and goes, "Oh, I'll have a look. I'll see if I can help you." And so I had like HTML on the left and CSS on the right. And he went, "What if I change that word there?" And he changed it from sort of blue to red, or where it was I was trying to do. Like, I knew how to do it, obviously. I'm just trying to get him involved. And yeah, he just pressed like save, and then it refreshed. He said, "Whoa, that's so cool." And I was like, "Well, what if I wanted to make the writing bigger?" And then he's changed it from a 10 to a 15, and the thing. But yeah, I'm just trying, obviously not to focus on any sort of language, but just to try and sort of spark that interest and sort of see that, oh, well, if I change this, then this thing happens, and like, yeah, that's the first thing, is to be able to see the thing sort of showing up on the screen and appearing. And what we then started, like we built a couple of sort of small sites for himself, but then he's going to change things like the nav bar on every page, which is very much the route I took at the beginning, and then started looking at CMSs, and now we're sort of looking at static site generators. So it's now you've got to start looking at things like Twig or whatever, just to sort of forget. He doesn't know or care that it's Twig or Blade or anything. He just knows that I'm just going to do a loop over this list of instructors or something, and then he's like, "Whoa, that's so cool." So it's trying to sort of show you these things, but not be too fussed about like what the language is, or I'm not going to start sort of the decorator part of it straight away. He just wants to see how these things work and build something. So
you mean you're not going to teach him full on abstraction from day one?
Maybe not straight one, maybe later on, but yeah, I think it's just it's a superpower, I think, be able to build these things. And when I've been involved with boot camps before, we've done hack days, to see some of the stuff people can do who maybe haven't been coding from sort of 3 months ago before that, so what they can sort of do in a day. And where one guy was mentoring, I said, "Oh, I want to build this sort of gym app that keeps track of my workouts or something." And again, he went and did it. And it's and it's those things, regardless of the language or framework, giving people that ability to have an idea and build it.
Well, on that note, I think we've gone quite a long time before hearing from our partners, so we better throw in the ad for Displace.
Thank you to our partners over at Displace Technologies. Building PHP applications is your passion. Managing cloud infrastructure shouldn't be your headache. Displace is your partner in cloud infrastructure orchestration, giving solo developers and small teams the tools and automation to deploy enterprise-grade Kubernetes clusters without the enterprise-grade complexity or cost. Their CLI tool streamlines everything from local development to fully managed cloud deployments on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, and more. Skip the steep learning curve of Docker, Kubernetes, and Terraform. Let their automation free you to focus on your core business without losing control of your infrastructure. Get started at displace.tech. That's displace.tech, and discover how the right tools can eliminate the need for a full DevOps team.
Thank you, Displace.
Displace.
I will just say, I think in the intro I said PHP Displace. I do apologise. It's just Displace. I did get it wrong. But anyway,
You were just combining two of our sponsors, mate. It was PHPScore and Displace.
Yeah, I know. I'm so used to saying PHPScore, and then so his brain not really engaged today. So we went on like a half an hour tangent there, completely. But that's great. That's great about these conversations. But we do want to talk a bit more about Drupal and what's happening in the world of Drupal at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting times at the moment, I think, for what and it's something we just had DrupalCon last month, the month before, so a lot of interesting stuff coming out of there. I didn't get to go to this one, so I was busy doing other stuff. But yeah, it's quite an interesting time. This Drupal is the Drupal framework, I guess, it's still going on. So we're on 11 point something, but now there's another product called Drupal CMS, which is like a enhanced version of that, I guess. So it's got a lot more stuff built into it, and it's sort of pre-built. You can install it and say, do you want to make an event website or a news website or something? So yeah, more sort of almost like the old sort of Symfony distributions, I guess, in a way. Yeah, version 2 of that is coming out pretty soon. And there's an alpha version of Drupal CMS 2 coming out. So yeah, it's still built on the original sort of framework, but comes with a number of these sort of modules and pre-configured recipes built in. Not something yet. I'm not building these sites all the time right now. It's not something I've had as much exposure to as I would have done a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's really interesting to see the project continually evolving and adding new things in and continuing to evolve. It's really cool.
It is quite interesting to watch how varying different frameworks are just evolving constantly with what's happening in the wider picture. I mean, I've noticed like Symfony and Laravel are looking at the AI concept, and you've started to hear bits coming out of others. Is that something that Drupal's been considering? And
yeah, there's a whole Drupal AI initiative, which I think is a big part of the CMS project. And what I've seen seems really interesting. Trying to think of some of the things, but there's like a little Drupal chatbot that shows up in the corner. So if you think maybe you're not a developer and you've got the thing installed and you're like, oh, I want to make an events page, you can ask it and it will create the content types and the views and everything for you based on that, which I think is pretty cool. But I've also said like automated migrations from like other things. You could say like it would like build all the migrations for you and set your content types up and migrate your content. So yeah, it's quite an interesting thing. There's a big initiative around it. It's just had quite a big cash injections. There's a lot of work going on from sponsors and things. So yeah, there's a lot of work going on in doing that. And I think that's good from an adoption perspective. They say for new people, junior people, just go, oh yeah, I want to evaluate this, and yeah, they can. So if it's going to help with that, I guess, and that's it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think so long as it is somebody who understands that, even with it being created by the core team, and even with it knowing everything about Drupal, it can still make mistakes. It's good that we have these tools that are supporting new developers. And I was actually playing around with the Drupal framework for the first time in a couple of years the other day. And it was like, even somebody who's been doing it as long as I have, looking at something new, it's like, yeah, I don't know where to start. So, of course, Docs is a great place to start and learn from that. But then I thought, do you know what? Let's do this the other way. And I just started building something in the way that I thought it would work and debugging as I went. and then comparing to docs when I needed it, because my natural routine is build something, watch it break, and find out where it broke.
Yeah.
It's worked for the last 25 years, so
Yeah, I'm familiar with the concept. Yeah.
and I think Drupal actually has some brilliant documentation that makes it stand out amongst its peers. And the only one that I think comes close with the level of documentation is Laravel, that documenting not just the framework, but the first-party packages and how they slot in and work. And that documentation is invaluable to anybody wanting to learn any framework, not just the big three. And
Indeed. Yeah, and that's one of the other initiatives. Is there's a documentation initiative happening right now as well, with like adopt a page or adopt a section of the manual. So yeah, people are taking some responsibility or sponsoring different parts of it, and they were looking at getting a full-time documentation lead or something. I don't know, a little while ago. But yeah, like similar to what you've got like Laracast or SymphonyCast as well. There's various ones like Drupalize.me is a used to be a video platform, but now it's got sort of written articles and things. So there's a lot of really good stuff in there. And yeah, people writing their own blogs and things as well. So there's a lot of content out there. But yeah, I do think documentation is really important. Both from like a core perspective, but also from a module maintainer perspective. Like how do you use the thing once you've downloaded it? It's really really important, because people can download it but don't know how to use it. Then it's going to be difficult. But
as stupid as it sounds, even in today's world of AI, it's invaluble for an AI to understand it. Because if the documentation is bad or missing,
information from indeed. There's a good initiative. We talked about it on my podcast a little while ago. It was about terminology. So I don't know whether you came across this, Chris, when you were installing it. But like, there definitely are some Drupalisms and some words like nodes. I guess is one of the common ones, like an article or any piece of content. So there's another initiative happening around UX and Drupalisms to try and identify some of those and to come up with maybe some better terminology for people maybe aren't as familiar with it, and going, what is a node, what is a view, what is a paragraph, what is an entity. So that's another very sort of cool things happening at the moment.
Yeah, and they do all need names, but they do sort of have this quirky nature of Drupal, which is, it's fine, it's good, it works. But it is that thing of, okay, how do we transfer that knowledge in a short space of time to people looking at it for the first time? And that is a really good way to be looking at it. Like, how do we help people understand this? Perhaps the answer is give it to people that don't use Drupal yet and say, do you understand this?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what's happening as part of that initiative, is being led by Emma, I think was UX lead at University of Edinburgh, I think. So yeah, that's a really interesting process, and we talked about that on our podcast, on my podcast with her and Luke. That's really good to see like that happening. Because I would refer to something as a content type, whereas a person who's not as familiar might call it like a layout type or a page layout or something. So it's interesting to start collating, which is not a small task, all these things, and then look at how we can sort of name these things better, so that people do have that better initial experience. Whereas when I started with it, you run the installer and then you just get a page that says you have no content yet. There's in the new CMS thing, like, you can say I want an event page, and it'll do a little demo for you as well and create some initial things. We've had a demo profile called Umami in there for quite a while now. It's a food recipe website, so it will install it for you, create all the content types and things. So you've got something out of the box that you can then try and reverse engineer and go, oh, that's where that comes from, not just an empty page. And then you're like going, well, what do I do now? So there's been efforts around this for a while, but yeah, still a lot of ongoing stuff, which I think is really key.
Yeah. I think one of the things that really helped me was I found a repo where somebody had built a demo Drupal app. And yes, okay, it was slightly out of date. They just need to update it. It wasn't massively out of date, but downloaded that repo, could see what had been done. But what was even more useful was the fact that you could see the different branches that showed how it was built up. So this first, and then this, and then this. And it gave me the understanding of, oh, okay, so this is a decent flow to follow, that you build your content type first, and then you build your subset entities. And by the time you got to the end of it, it's like, oh, so we've got a full thing. How many lines of code did I write? About 200. That's good going.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's a bit, if you're going to take the coding approach, then yeah, but you could also do the same thing with sort of click ops, and you can take the content type of the UI and add your fields. There's a lot of different field types for dates, and there's a lot more of them in there within the CMS project. But yeah, there's a whole, you can do all that without clicking, without writing any code, if you want to go through and build. And that's how I started, and how a lot of people probably are starting. And then you only start writing code when you want to write a custom theme or write a custom module with some additional functionality. But yeah, you can do a lot with it without writing any code at all.
And the Drupal CMS, from what I've seen, does seem to be a very close competitor to WordPress, which is it's good to see another CMS that handles the level of data that WordPress can.
Yeah, indeed. First thing, I've not looked at WordPress for quite a while, but even then I remember having to do, it was still very pages and posts, and then everything else was like a post type, if I remember right. So, and that may have been, you may have even needed custom plugin to do that. Whereas Drupal's always had that idea of different content types from the beginning. So it was a bit clearer to me like what the content model was, and it wasn't just a subset of a post. And yeah, things like, I think advanced custom fields was a WordPress thing. Whereas we've got like all these fields already sort of built up in Drupal, but you can add more field types by adding more modules in as well. So yeah, it seemed a bit more flexible to me anyway. But yeah, it's interesting to see how there's obviously definite comparisons between Drupal and WordPress, like the role of Symfony and that role. But yeah, it's good to have those things sort of go and see what each other are doing and go from there. But
yeah, and neither one of them is more right or more wrong than the other. They're just choices.
No.
And
it's definitely
at the end of the day, if you've got a set of tools in front of you that give you different ways of getting at something, you can literally pick which one you want. And most of the time, it's like, do I want the red-handled screwdriver or the blue-handled screwdriver?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. But yeah, it's all about solving problems, like we were saying earlier on, right? And how the tools you decide to use that are going to depend, as long as you're solving the problem. That's the main thing.
Yeah. So, you up for going a bit deeper into Drupal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So one thing I don't understand is how the hell does dependency injection work in Drupal?
Okay. So since Drupal 8, we've adopted object-oriented coding and a lot of Symfony components since Drupal 8, also on like Drupal 11 now. So that was quite a big change for the project. So everything before Drupal 7 wasn't. So everything before Drupal 7, 7 and earlier was quite different. So since 8, so we've had Symfony, we've had Composer, and then one of the things we are using is dependency injection component. So some of it should be familiar if you're familiar with Symfony's dependency injection. So yeah, I guess that's the first thing. Each module, so in a Drupal sense, you can have modules directory. So you've got Drupal core, and then you've got contributed modules, so you can go and run Composer, require Drupal/something, and install a module from Drupal.org. or you can make your own custom modules and write them in place. So you sort of get the in a way, because you've got already this idea of having different modules. So if I'm going to make, I say a blog module, but there is a blog module. Yeah, if I was going to make my own module called, inside that module, you can have a info.yaml file, which is setting up the information like the name and even dependencies. But also then there's a services.yaml file that you can add in there, and that's where you declare your own custom services for that module. Drupal core has a core.services file where all the Drupal core services live, and you can do dependency injection like in the same way you would, I guess, similar to Symfony, where you can have a arguments list, and you reference your core names, your service names from the core file. And a lot of them now, like we've got the older, I think still in there, like the older ones, like entity type .manager. But then we've now got aliases, like using the full class name, which is I think is what Symfony now tend to do. So there are aliases in there. So it depends to inject those, and then just need to add that. You could also do, there is still some support for auto wiring in there, so you can do auto wire as true. And I'm still not sure whether it's officially supported, but it's worked for me for a long time. But yeah, I would typically enable auto wiring unless I need to, unless I need to be more specific.
Yeah.
So each module has its own services file that you can use.
So that YAML file is what then exposes it to other modules.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That
makes
sense.
I can write my own sort of services file. So I'm create my own service called this, and that has an argument of entity type manager or something, for example. Then you could add that in
there. Okay. So that answers a lot of questions of why something didn't work, and it's because I didn't export it in the services.yaml. So I'll add it to services.yaml, and I'll probably be able to import it now.
Yeah, and again, that file just gets just clear cache, like that's the standard. Like I used to type just cc all, which was like the cache clean, but now CR now is cache rebuild. So yeah, that's the command I run quite a lot. And yeah, that'll just refresh the cache of all the files, and hopefully then touch wood start working. There should be this example. That's the great thing of open source, right? Is you can go and look at any of the other modules that are there, see how they're structured. And then some of my content then around testing, I've got examples of modules using services that you could also sort of refer back to.
So the module I was creating was just to experiment, and I decided what I was going to do is I was going to create a marquee module. So I could import the marquee at the top of any page and have it scrolled across like I did in the 90s.
Cool. Sounds good.
So is there anything let's rephrase that actually thinking. What can we expect from Drupal coming up in future releases? Anything exciting that's being worked on that you can talk about yet?
I'm probably a little bit out of the loop, really, in a way. It's like I've not watched the last DrupalCon videos. There's always obviously a lot that come from that, from the Dries note. So that's the keynote from Dries, who's the project lead. I think, continuing with Drupal CMS and adding, I'm interested to see what comes in from that in the next sort of major version. So I need to pull down the alpha of that and see what's going on. But yeah, an interesting thing I was discussing with somebody on mine was this. It's called ECA, so Event Condition Action. So in earlier versions of Drupal, we had rules. So there's a module you'd install called rules, and it was very much like a when this thing happens, do this. And so I'm going to struggle to find an example now. And maybe when a new node of this type gets published, send an email to a subscriber list or something. Rules was the one we had there, and then ECA is sort of a successor, I guess, in a way to that. But it's almost like an NNN or NAN sort of style thing. Or if this then that type of approach. So yeah, that seems like that
So-
seems to be adopted by core now, and it's using BPMN, I think is the, I'm going to get my acronym wrong, but which is an industry standard sort of tool for designing these sorts of workflows. So yeah, that's got a lot of potential, I think, to see
Mhm.
how that can link in.
Interesting.
Yeah, if it's going to give you like a not an entity relationship diagram, but like a flow chart. I love a good flow chart about like how this works. You could show that to a client or somebody and say, "Is this what you want?" And they're like, "Yes" or "No." So yeah, that seems really powerful, and that seems to be taking getting a lot of attention or getting adopted by people. So yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with that particularly, because again, if it's something that somebody who's is even not a coder can install and use and build something quite complex with it based on their logic, and that's obviously really powerful, really powerful.
Cool.
That
Yeah.
sounds really close to observer pattern, but built visually, and that is cool.
Yeah, ECA, event condition action. So yeah, it's either part of Drupal CMS core, or like you can add recipes, which are sort of collections of modules and configurations. So there's thing you can do compose require that, and it will set up a lot of things with it already. So yeah, it's being used by a lot of other recipes as well. So that's again something fairly sort of new, not being having set up too much stuff with CMS yet. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening there. But the framework is continuing sort of to evolve behind the scenes as well. Like I look at core issues sometimes, and there's ones there about using HTMX, for example. So like there's always these things happening sort of under the hood or behind the scenes. Do have a really good sort of community. Always have had, I guess, I'll say from like the technical side. Some of the stuff we've built as a community as Drupal itself, but also like we had to build our own issue queues at the beginning because like GitHub wasn't a thing, when that started, but Git wasn't a thing. So we've always had a really good technical stuff side of things. But it's been really good to see, the marketing people coming in, Emma, the UX initiative. It's been really good to see all that side of thing starting to come in, and the AI stuff again has got to get a lot of attention from people. People tend to find themselves sort of for or against that, but yeah, it is really, really good to see. So there's a lot of interest in it from different places.
Yes. I mean, to get me programming in anything but pure PHP or Laravel is quite unique when it comes to PHP. And I actually liked using Drupal, which is that's a good start to get to the point where a developer who's in another framework goes, actually, this is okay. I like this.
Well, hopefully there's some, like, especially now, say since 8, there should be some more familiarity with it if you're a developer, because we're using Composer, whereas before we had to sort of Drush download modules, or we had our own sort of Drush make syntax. So yeah, now we've got things like Composer, like that, so it should feel so somewhat familiar. And there's, like I said, the dependency injection, and if you're literally using some of the same components that you would be using in Symfony or Laravel anyway, then there should be hopefully an element of familiarity there, which maybe wasn't there before. And but there's still, like, it's not following all the standards of things, like we still do 2 spaces for things, like that's the Drupal standard, but a lot more of it should seem sort of quite familiar. And you have some of those patterns there, whereas if people, like we said earlier about PHP, people will be using Drupal. I see a lot, speak to people, I use Drupal when I was starting to learn, and it was 4.6 or 5 or something. Obviously it's completely different now. Whereas then, how you would have done things like dependency injection, like that wasn't really a thing back in sort of 6, 7, 5. So it's and YAML for config files at the moment, like that was quite a big thing for me, because I hadn't really done some of that before Drupal 8 came out, and Twig was new for me there because we were doing PHP template before that. So there's a lot more stuff going on there. And there should be familiar to people now for using other PHP things, but hopefully again not too dissimilar for new people coming in either.
Yeah, and there will be differences because the end goal is different. Laravel is
Yes.
here's an empty project, have fun.
Mhm.
Drupal is here's an empty project, you're building something that needs a CMS, and the aims are different.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's having it's out on Gary Hawkins' stream a while ago now. But he was doing something for a conference talk, and we were doing he was doing some sort of login. Oh, I can't remember what it was now. Maybe it was like some API thing or some user login thing. And it's just out of the box, like it's there. User login is there out of the box. You don't need to add, additional tools or packages and things. Which for Laravel, you need to put in passport. I think was the thing recently. I don't know, but that's there. Like it's got JSON API module. So if you want to expose all your content as an API, you turn that module on and it's there already, and you can then it's got a lot out of the box, either turned on for you there or already there in core that you can use. But then there's thousands of other modules that you can. But it's just a composer require away. And if you're doing something quite specific, like there's distributions as well. So like if you want to do e-commerce, there's Drupal Commerce and Commerce Kickstart. Local Gov Drupal, particularly if you're in the UK, is really there's the distribution for local councils and things. So that's I think it's almost 35 UK councils are now using it. So there's like different flavors of Drupal as well for different cases. So it really depends on what the use case is. Whereas yes, you could probably do that in like Laravel or something as well, but it would be good to there's existing sort of it's good like Council A doesn't need to rebuild the same thing that Council B just wrote because they've already done it and it's been contributed back. So that's a big one.
I've got a feeling, actually, I don't know for certain, but just little hints around the website that the council I live under actually uses Drupal. Which I wouldn't be surprised because they are quite current with things that are available to them.
Newport City Council has been on for a while, so I think whether it is the most popular one now for councils, but it's definitely getting there if it's not already. And we used to do it with Bracknell Forest Council quite a few years ago, and we were saying there that why are we rebuilding the same features that a different council has just done? This sort of initiative came out of that really. So now there's like one, and that's like a sub community within the community. But they do regular meetups and discussions, and it's got its own tech lead and everything. But that's just a great example of open source that if we can build it once and contribute it back, and then all the other councils and everybody can get the benefit of it, then why wouldn't you do this? Especially when you're talking about public money as well. Like build it once and reuse it. So just the benefit of open source.
It reminds me of that old film, Build It and They Will Come.
Yes, well, and on that note, we're sort of gone over our hour mark that we tried to. Not surprising after the tangent we went down right at the top of the show. But we have one more question for you. We step outside of sort of the Drupal world as well. But is it what in the world of PHP at the moment is exciting you about using PHP for whatever you?
What PHP? That's a good question. I think the both things I like seeing them like both evolving continuously, and it's always great to see these new features that are being added. Again, like I see Nino talking a lot about these new like this was PHP 5, and then I'll make it into PHP 8 as we go. But there seems to be so much happening behind the scenes. That, let's talk about I can't remember the thing that I saw recently, but like it's always. I would say fibers, but that's probably the wrong word. But there's so much stuff happening behind the scenes that's always there, and it's just to me like it's great to see that, but also it's just a stable sort of language. It's going to be I can rely on it to build, and I can build websites. I can build CI tools with it. I can build build sort of anything with it really. I think it's great, but. I think it's just in a really healthy place at the moment. With the the thing, I guess, with the PHP Foundation, but seeing Symphony, WordPress, Drupal, like seeing those sorts of long-standing projects and seeing them all continuously evolving with the language as well. Not to bring it back to the PHP is dead thing, but it's definitely not. Like it's in a really good sort of place, and it's just great to see the whole thing evolving, see everybody push each other forward in a way. So it's not like there's a competitor, like, oh, shouldn't use this because this is bad, or shouldn't use PHP and we should be using this instead. Like it's great to see these things sort of evolving. And some, I think, is getting the new people in with potentially different ideas and different things. So it'd be great to see that continuing to happen. And how we can keep encouraging that.
You say we can build anything with PHP. We literally can now.
Yeah,
we can do mobile apps. We can do desktop apps. We can.
Oh yeah, that's crazy that you can build mobile. That's it's to see just the R&D stuff coming out and we can build this for this. That's cool. So that somebody who's just learning to PHP say, I want to build a mobile app. Yeah, and now you can. It's amazing.
I mean, at the moment, that is only the Laravel framework that you can build it under just because of how it's been constructed. But even the guys building that have said that eventually it'll be open to other frameworks. We just need to get the foundations built.
We have them on the show coming up. Is it next week or is it the week after?
At the time of recording, it's next
that's
week.
A good point. This isn't live, so this
by the
come
time
out afterwards.
At the time of recording, Mike, it's next week. But at the time this has gone out, it's about 3 weeks ago.
Right. Okay. I forgot this was a pre-recorded one then. You have to, if you watch this, you have to go back in time now to go and see the one with
Shane and Simon.
And Simon, we've got them both coming on. I can't tell you what we talked about because we haven't recorded it yet.
This is getting meta.
Go back in time, watch it, come back, tell us what we talked about, and we'll record that bit.
Time travel. We talked about time zone. Talked about time zones before we started recording, and now we're. Yes. I'm messing with my own head. So we literally can build anything in PHP. And I know Chris is really excited to see a fridge that's programmed in PHP.
I just
be able to upload an
app.
But it's all seems to be completely possible now, and I don't know if you can say that about a lot of the other languages that are out there. I'm not trying to diss other languages because other languages do certain things better than what PHP can do in some cases.
I mean, I haven't yet managed to build a binary with PHP. So you can't compile it to an individual runnable thing.
Yeah.
You can with Hack, which is a offshoot of PHP, but the only one that comes close to the range of things you can build is JS.
What was the things like? Cause you used to be able to distribute things as file files. So there used to be a project around that. So you used to download Composer as composer.file and run it. But there's a slightly different process for doing that. I can't remember. It's Humbug something box plugin. So that would sort of do it. That you could then build as like a distributable thing. There seems to be so many different. But if it's not there, then somebody can build it, or probably has. It's probably on GitHub somewhere already.
The only reason it isn't there is the nature of the base language. So to make it possible for Hack, they had to change certain elements of how the base engine works.
Okay.
So basically, Chris, I've just said that we can do anything with PHP, and you're telling me we can't.
We can do everything but build a binary in pure PHP.
On that note, I think we should stop the show. That's it. We're over. We're done. No, seriously, thank you very much for your time today. I know it's been really difficult to get this one in. We've rescheduled a few times, so I'm so glad that we've actually managed to get our schedules to combine and be able to record this episode. It's been a long-awaited one. we wanted to do. So thank you very much for your time today. And thank you very much for everyone that's listening or watching. Don't forget to head over to our Discord channel and join in the chat. We're there all week long. Certainly me and Chris are hanging out there all the time, and we'll answer any questions that you have. Generally, Chris will answer your questions. I don't know the answer to them. Head over to discord.phparch.com. Also YouTube, if you're not watching us on YouTube, do head over to our YouTube channel and hit like and subscribe. That will help us out a lot, and you'll get alerts when the next episodes come out. We generally try and release an episode. Well, originally it was every other Thursday. It is now turned out to be every Thursday and every Friday, because we've had so many pre-recorded episodes, but we're possibly not going to be carrying that on into 26. We'll probably slow down a bit after that. We just wanted to get everyone out. We seem to be able to
mean every Tuesday?
What did I say?
Thursday.
Okay, yeah, no, we do have a podcast on Thursday, but it's not us. That's Eric and John. We're on every Tuesday. So it's been one of those weeks. It's Friday now, and it's been a long week for me. Don't forget to check out PHP Tech and JS Tech. Tickets are on sale now. It'd be great to see as many people as possible over there. It's a great conference. I've always sort of said that it feels very sort of family orientated. We welcome anyone, and anyone will talk to you. There's no funny cliques or anything like that. You don't have the speakers you hustled off to a room and you never see them again. They will be sitting next to you at lunch, and you can chat to it. And they want to chat. Most of these speakers just want to chat all the time. You've got one of them on the show here, Chris. He just doesn't stop. Swag, don't forget to head over to our store and check out the t-shirts. There's mugs, there's caps, there's hats, there's all sorts of things over there. Check them out. There's some really cool t-shirts in there at the moment, which I still need to get. I still need to get my favorite t-shirt. I need to get one, but
I need to put in an order for that one.
Yeah, definitely got to get that one. But yes, so thank you very much for everyone for listening. Thank you very much for your time today, and we'll see you all at the next one. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.